Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Racing. We are really getting towards the business end of the championship now. 4 races remaining, and tonight it is a trip to Austin, Texas, the Circuit of the Americas, for the United States Grand Prix, round 19 out of 22 in this inaugural LNR Championship. This inaugural championship where we still don't really have an idea who is going to be on top at this moment in time. It is still Jonathan Cox leading the championship at this moment in time, but it is extremely close indeed. He's 10 points ahead of Paulie Orange. Aylin in the other half is only 16 points behind, and drivers such as Andenge, Droftas, KRC, Total P's as well, all still mathematically have chances. Gelato, Owner Ollie as well. A long way down the order. You'd expect it to probably be one of those top 3 drivers, but of course, with double points in the final race, you never quite know what is going to happen. Good evening to our championship leader. It is going to be a dry qualifying, despite it looking very overcast at this moment in time. You've got to say it is not looking good whatsoever at this moment in time. Very dull, very dismal indeed. Hopefully for the drivers. You wouldn't expect this sort of weather at COTA. Of course, we have had some very wet races around here before, and it looks like we are going to have another one. And Denge, who is still in with a chance of winning this championship, reminded us that we are going to get a wet race, and we're going to go on board then with Lost Souls in the Williams as he takes us around this circuit. First used in Formula 1 in 2012, the 10th circuit used for Formula 1 in the United States as he heads into turn 1, this very tricky uphill braking zone. Quite often you see drivers going for moves around there, and then you've got this S section that really defines Sector 1 based on Maggots and Beckett's, as we appear to have gone on board with Farhad DBN there. I do apologise, just clipping the wrong button. We'll see how he takes us around them in the Mercedes. This section, as I mentioned, similar to Maggots and Beckett's, we've seen Treminator retire from the session at the moment. Coming up through turn 10 now, DRS detection point just across that line there. Turn 11 would, in any other situation, be an overtaking opportunity, but because it leads you along this long, undulating straight, DRS open on the back of the Mercedes, you won't be seeing too many people overtaking into turn 11. Instead, they'll choose to use the DRS and use their VRS to have an attack into turn 12, and you do see a lot of battles in this stadium section, cars fighting side by side all the way throughout the race as he now heads into turn 13 and 14. It's very tricky, this section of the circuit, especially if you do not use anti-lock brakes, as he now comes into turn 15. Gets a bit of a slide on the exit, but has managed to hold it. Then you've got these long right-handers as our championship leader is out of the session. That is very interesting indeed. Coming into 19 and 20, be careful on the track limits at turn 19. It is very easy to invalidate. Then hard into turn 20 at the moment, and it looks as though Harvey Lees is going to be on pole position. Paulie Orange, the man currently second in the championship, is second on the grid, and that could be very interesting indeed. So Harley Lee's getting those 4 bonus points at this moment in time in the Alfa Romeo. He will be looking forward to a very good race indeed, I am sure. I'm just looking at the championship at the moment. I believe he might actually be a reserve driver, so that is 4 championship points. I see. Jonathan Cox has a qualifying ban. Well, that's... Now it all makes sense. Thank you, guys. So, yes, qualifying ban for our championship leader. Not ideal whatsoever. He is 18th, though, on the grid. We'll just check any of the other stewards' inquiries that have come about from the previous race. So yeah, God's actually with 10 penalty points as well from the previous race. Jonathan Cox has for 10 points. That gives him the qualifying ban. There was also some other instance. 10 penalty points for Farhad DVN. That currently puts him on a total of, as I scroll down the long list of penalty points at this moment in time, he's on 10 penalty points. So Jonathan Cox, obviously with that ban, and God's only 5 points away from a ban as well. And that is the grid then. Harvey Lee's on pole position. Paulie Orange, a fantastic chance to take the lead of the championship here in second. Blaze is third, Lost Souls fourth, Andenge fifth, Total P sixth, CRL Ferg seventh, Ona Ole eighth, Noble and Fatality rounding out the top 10. Aylin will have a fresh tyre choice, but of course, if it's a wet race, if it's a wet start to the race, everyone will have that fresh tyre choice. So this could be very interesting indeed. My apologies for not realising Jonathan Cox had a qualifying ban. I do apologise that. I must have missed that in the penalty point situation earlier on. So he'll be hoping that he can do plenty of overtaking around here. And it is a circuit where strategy is oh so important, and you can make quite a lot of overtakes as well. So that's going to be good news for him. In the wet, obviously DRS will be disabled, and we are expecting some wet stage to this race. That's not to say the entire race is going to be wet. We're not quite sure how long. If the start of the race is wet, then everyone, including those that qualified in the top 10, do get a free choice of tyres. So that will be good news for all of them. Tyres are very crucial around here. You'll probably see those that are starting on pole in a conventional race have to go for soft hard strategy, whereas everyone outside of the top 10 will probably start on the mediums, maybe try and stretch that to a soft run later on, or start on the hard tyres and have no problems whatsoever on a soft run. So this could be an interesting race. Let me know your predictions of who you think is going to take the victory around this circuit. A win for Paulie Orange will probably go a long way towards getting him the championship. If Harvey Lees does finish the race, of course, he is guaranteed 4 points, as we do seem to be waiting a long time for the lobby in, unfortunately, true championship fashion. And yes, mathematically, still the top 11 can mathematically win the championship at this moment in time. So very close indeed at the moment. Who do you guys think is going to win? It will be double points at the final race we mentioned. The Drivers' Championship is close, but the Constructors, a lot more open, let's put it that way. If, by the end of the night, it is extremely possible that we will see the championship won by the Haas team at this moment in time. If they end the evening more than 192 points ahead of AlphaTauri, they will take the championship victory. They will be the inaugural Constructors' Championships winners, and you can see why the consistency that Paulie Orange and Alan have shown at the moment, second and third in the championship. It's a matter of when, not if, now they become the Constructors' Championship. Orange started in second, Alan in 11th with that free tyre choice, but he's always a driver that keeps it clean, tries to avoid really getting any penalties. In a lot of leagues I've commentated on him on, he does avoid getting penalties, so that is going to be crucial today. It looks as though it is going to be a beautiful start to the race. It's almost amazing when you're looking at this to believe that rain has actually been forecast, so we will have a bit of a look at what tyres everyone has gone on at the moment for this session, and a big mixture outside the top 10. That doesn't really tell us when we're expecting the rain. Alan, Cruxy, Energetic 6, Farhad, Jonathan Cox and Gogs going on the medium tyres. You've got Mars and Treminator on the hards, and then you've got a couple of drivers, one of them being Thugbird, going on a fresh set of soft tyres, himself and AC Immortal on a fresh set of softs. And that is very interesting indeed, if you ask me. That suggests to me they're hoping that the rain comes quite early on. They will, of course, in qualifying have got an indication of when the rain's coming, and on the grid as well they'll have had some indication when the race splits itself into its 6 or 7 sections of when the rain is coming. That's not always the most reliable. Sometimes I've had it before where it said rain after halfway, and on a formation lap you've got Jeff telling you 10 minutes towards the rain, so it is always a risk predicting when the weather is going to come. Normally Jeff not too bad as a weather forecaster. You can see the predictive strategies there. Be very surprised if anyone goes for 2-stop around here in the conventional dry conditions. Is a very big pit lane loss indeed around this circuit, around 20-21 seconds. It will not be quicker, and you will probably find yourself dropping down the field, but you might be forced onto that strategy if you get damage earlier on and you've started. Well, even if you've started on a set of softs or mediums and you get damage early on, you'll probably be going to the hards until the rain comes, whatever lap that might be. So we've got a new pole sitter in Harvey Lees, Paulie Orange, second in the championship at the moment, finished second in the last race, and that is what bumped him up ahead of his teammate. He's had 2 wins so far this season, but it is 9 podiums, more than anyone else, that has got him this close to the championship. Can he become the first driver to get double-figure podiums this season? And if he does so, will it be enough for him to take the championship lead off Jonathan Cox, who's down in 18th, and we know he is a feisty driver. We've seen that sometimes gets him in trouble. Alas, that is why he had the qualifying banner for this race. Will he be able to recover through the field? Watch out for him in the opening stages. This is going to be an absolutely lightning 28 laps around the circuit of the Americas. Harvey Lee's on pole position, Paulie Orange in second, and Blaze, a good lap from the McLaren driver, currently in third position. Blaze also looking for his first podium, as is Harvey Lees. And we're just now waiting for the lights to come on then around this circuit of the Americas to get round 19 underway. There we go, the lights are now coming on. 4 lights, 5 lights here in Austin. And we are underway. Whatever starts like, it looks like a fairly decent start from Paulie Orange, trying to get alongside Harvey Lees on the run down to turn 1. He's not able to do so, and Lost Souls and Andenge moving around in the background. It's all getting a bit tight in there, with Total Peace finding himself being squeezed between the 2 Williams, one of which has had to go onto the grass. I believe that was Andenge who got forced onto the grass, but a clean start from the top 3 drivers. Harvey Lees still leading from Orange, Blaze, Lost Souls, Ona Ole, Pease, Ferg. We've got someone else drop in by the looks of things a long way down the field. Jonathan Cox has had an absolutely storming start at the moment. He's gone up into 13th place. CRX Mars facing the wrong way round on those hard tyres. Can't even see the car from that camera angle. And oh, Thugbird off as well. Both though look as though they have still got a fairly intact front wing, so that is good news for the pair of those drivers. Oh, and that is Thugbird around again. Needs to be careful on those soft tyres. It is very easy to cook your tyres once you've started spinning them, and that will definitely take the life out of them. Alan using his fresh medium tyres. He's now up into 9th place, and Noble moving around the back of Fatality as well, trying to work his way up. And there is Jonathan Cox, 12th position, 6 places gained on this first lap. Exactly what he needed to do. Now it's all about how far up the field can he get. A great start as well from One Ole on the Ferrari on those soft tyres, moving from 8th into 5th position. Again, one of these drivers that still has a mathematical chance of winning the championship, and possibly might still have one at the end of tonight. Really though, needs to win every race this season and hope for disastrous results for those around for anything like that to be happening. So it is very unlikely indeed. At the end of lap 1 though, it is still Harvey Lees in the lead from Paulie Orange, Blaze. That is Lost Souls. I think that is just the classic timing glitch. He's still in 4th position. We just check very quickly. Williams still have a mathematical chance of winning the championship, as do Alpha Tauri. In fact, it is very close between Williams and Alpha Tauri at the moment. Only 3 points between them. So it's good news for the Alpha Tauri, the Italian team's constructors' hopes of finishing second, because you'd imagine finishing first is just way out of the question now that Jonathan Cox has had such a good start. But it's looking good at the moment for Williams to take that second place and get that at the end of the season. Red Bull as well, 39 points behind Williams, so a good race from them. And they might be able to shove their way up the order a bit more. There's some more battling here. Jonathan Cox and Noble coming out of turn 11. They're side by side at this moment in time. Who has got the straight line speed? No DRS at the moment, and both drivers will have been using their ERS. Can Noble go late enough on the brakes all the way around the outside of our championship leader? He's still hanging on in there at the moment. Coxie needs to be careful that he doesn't end up chopping across the front of the McLaren driver here and accidentally getting himself a penalty. I'm sure he wouldn't do that intentionally. It looks as though he's managed to hold on to that position, and Noble already can't get the cutback done. So that is another place gained in for our championship leader. All of a sudden, he's only 1 place off the points, but you can see there's a bit of a gap for him ahead of him already. The Ferrari of Fatality not too far behind Alan at this moment in time. Jonathan needs to make sure he's getting within a second, otherwise we might see those two just start to break away ever so slightly. DRS is enabled on this lap then, and Paulie Orange currently in possession of the Blaze in possession of the fastest lap of the race. And a quick reminder, as we said, you get 4 points for pole position if you finish the race. You also get a point for fastest lap if you finish the race. It doesn't matter if you're 1st or 17th, as long as you cross the finish line when the checkered flag is out, you will get that point. Otherwise, it's the same as the official Formula 1 standings. And it looks like Harvey is really having to push hard at the moment to try and keep hold of this lead in this race. You saw him running wide there out of turn 10. Not an ideal line whatsoever. Don't want to be picking up penalties in these early stages. And I think Ole is hoping that he'd be picking up a slipstream at the moment, but he hasn't. And here comes Total Peace, not bothering to use his ERS at the moment. It looks like the Ferrari was doing so in an attempt to hold on, but the DRS just too powerful at the moment. And that is Total Peace, who was leading the championship right at the start of the season and was probably many people's prediction to take the victory after he won the first 2 races in a row and looked dominant in those early stages. He'll be hoping that he still has a chance of winning the championship. Let's not forget, he is still in with a half-decent shout in 7th place on 76 points behind, and it is just really that double points race that is keeping him in contact at the moment. There is a possible 60 points up for grabs in the final race of the season for one of these drivers at the Brazilian Grand Prix. We have got Mexico and Abu Dhabi to come before then, of course, so it is never quite over, and it does definitely look certain as though we will be going all the way this season. Quite a few drivers picking up penalties there. Fatality, Noble, Immortal, Energetic 6 and Duckbird, all with 3 seconds at the moment. They'll have to be careful as the race goes. Let's not forget though, we are getting rain at some point, and when that rain hits, could dictate everything. For Paulie Orange and all those on the soft tyres at the front of the race, they're going to be hoping it's either going to come extremely early or extremely late on. For those on the mediums, they'll be hoping round about lap 12, lap 13 would be absolutely ideal for them for it to start raining, as we now see Gods get himself a penalty down in 15th. So one of the Alfa Romeo drivers seems to be struggling at the moment. One seems to be just doing all he needs to. Harvey Lee still in the lead of the race, moving over to the left-hand side of the track there just to cover off any possible move from Paulie Orange, who closes in, just shows himself in the mirrors to try and put our race leader under any pressure, but he's not really showing it at the moment. And these top three have got away ever so slightly from the battle behind. Total Peas and Nandenge now getting ahead of Ole, and Nandenge is probably the top driver in that second group in the championship, in 4th place at the moment, 41 points behind. Can't afford any bad races, otherwise it will probably be just too much for the Swede to win the championship at this moment in time. And as we look further down the field, he's got himself into the points. Jonathan Cox then is up into 10th place. Now he's into the points. I'm not quite sure who he managed to get himself ahead of, as here we see our first pit stop of the race at the end of lap 4. Ole into the pits in the Ferrari. That is very interesting indeed. Another set of the soft tyres going onto his car. So it is looking likely, I'd say before halfway through this race, we are going to see a few spits of rain. It's looking very dusk conditions at the moment. You'll be able to tell when the screen gets extremely dark and black, as it does. The timing rules here in late night racing, as you can tell by the name, we try and have night races where possible. If not, we'll just set it to the latest time in the evening, and it still looks like a very nice evening at the moment. You wouldn't expect any rain coming in the next 10-15 minutes or so, but judging by that tyre choice from the Ferrari driver, it's not too far away. Battling now for 14th and 15th. In fact, I think Gods has made a mistake. He's way off the track at turn 10, where Sebastian Vettel had that big suspension failure in 2019, and he's got big front wing damage as well, so I imagine he'll be coming into the pits this lap. That has really ruined that alternate strategy for him, as he will drop a long way down the order. Lost Souls, I can tell you, is not a lap down at the moment, so that does explain obviously why we've got that slight timing issue at the moment. He is in 4th position. The Total Peas is still in 5th at this moment in time. Hopefully that will all sort itself out at some point in the future. So Total Peas is 5th at this moment in time. Jonathan Cox is in 10th position. He is not in that all of a sudden. So everyone behind Total Peas, including Peas, dropped down a position at the moment. It does look as though there is a bit of a timing glitch, unfortunately, for Lost Souls. Slight connection issues on his end, I would imagine. Who else are we seeing battling further down the field? Crux has managed to get his way past Noble, then into 10th position. Those medium tyres, of course, coming into their own all of a sudden as Fatality picks up a 3-second tyre penalty. You would now expect the medium tyres are going to be the ones to be on for the majority of the field. This is going to be a very interesting race indeed. You'd expect, well, it all depends when the rain comes. Those on the softs aren't going to be able to stretch them, I don't think, long enough to get to a set of the intermediate tyres. So that probably puts someone like Alan in a good position, although at the moment he's got Fatality trying to enact an overtake. The Ferrari on those soft tyres should still have enough grip to get this done down the inside, and that puts him up into 8th position at this moment in time. So that is Fatality moving upfield in the Ferrari. That is a position gained for him. There's some battling as well further down. Ole and Mars battling. Yes, both Ferraris making some good progress on the soft tyres at the moment. The difference is, of course, Ole has made that pit stop. He's got that fresh set of tyres. He will be feeling very good indeed about his chances all of a sudden. If it starts raining now, he's in big trouble. If he could stretch those softs long enough another 6 or 7 laps and then the rain starts coming. Who knows, he might gain a lot of places on those cars ahead of him. We are seeing a few more pit stops then. Fatality in Ferg in as well. Renault and Ferrari pit crews heading out. What tyres is it going to be? It's mediums for Fatality, and it is another set of softs for Ferg. So interesting to see different strategies here. So Fatality is now probably hoping that it's even later. He's hoping we're only seeing the last 6 or 7 laps of this race with some rain. This is going to be tricky indeed, I think, for all the drivers at the moment to just call this right when they need to come into the pits. Always very tricky. You've got to get it absolutely spot on at this moment in time. On board with Andenge. Not got a penalty at the moment. Just looks as though he's struggling slightly out of the corner. I know he's changed to not using any traction control only a few races ago at the back end of 2020, and he says this track can be very cool for those with no traction control, so we'll have to see how he's doing at this moment in time. Thugbird is into the pits. He's put a set of hard tyres on. That's very interesting indeed, almost as if he's expecting the rain to be right at the end of this race and maybe, just maybe, not affecting enough for a need for the intermediate tyres. We'll have to wait and see. Treminator has been passed by Ole. Ferg getting ahead of Mars, so that swaps for 13th, 14th, 15th and 16th. We'll check the pit stops as well at this moment in time, as that is quite big news at this moment. Our race leader has got himself a penalty, and the man who was in 3rd place comes into the pits. And yeah, if that's surely that the thing is, if Blaze has to come into the pits again, that penalty has absolutely shafted him. I'm sorry, he's trying to come into the pit lane, he's got himself a corner cutting penalty and he can't get it removed. He's got another 5-second penalty as well. That is, I didn't see the pit entry, so unless he has cut the line extremely late, in which case he hasn't got a leg to stand on, well, that has really cost Blaze from a possible podium position. He's been jumped by Ferg in all of this, and Ole as well. So that aggressive undercut from Ole working out at the moment. He was ahead of Total P's earlier on. He's back behind him at this moment in time, but on much fresher tyres. Fatality, the only one of these drivers who's pitted who has gone on to a set of mediums. Everyone else who's pitted has gone on to a set of soft tyres, and of course if the rain doesn't come until extremely late, as God sets the fastest lap of the race, if for whatever reason they could get a set of soft tyres to last 20 laps. I know they can't, but if they could, they'd have to come into the pits anyway, because you have to use 2 different types of tyres. Blaze trying to move his way up then. He now gets ahead of Treminator, and he's got a nice over of DRS as well to help him hold on to that position. So he is in what is officially 15th position at this moment in time. Not doing too bad whatsoever, and if you're wondering, of course, why the positions are different to what I'm saying, Lost Souls is slightly desynced with the game as our race leader comes into the pits. Harvey Lee into the pits then at the end of lap 8, going onto a set, and imagine again, set of the soft tyres, and Denge also coming in the Williams. So both of these drivers, we could see it is a set of softs for the Alfa Romeo, and it is a set of mediums for Andenge. So he's going similar to what Fatality did, putting the set of the medium tyres on. Mars has earned himself a penalty. Where is Harvey Lee? He's going to come out relative to all this traffic. Where's he going to come out relative to Total P's? This is going to be very close at the top of the hill. Harvey is just ahead of Total P's at the moment. Andenge back behind Ole, and obviously a long way behind Total P's after all that, and he's not too far ahead of Ferg and Blaze, as that is another penalty for Total P's. So he needs to defend all of a sudden, does the Williams driver, because he could have a Renault and a McLaren, that both of which we know, as we've seen at various times this season, both of which we know are extremely fast. They could be really putting some pressure on at the moment, as we've got a real big battle going on here for what is effectively the net lead of this race. Harvey Lee has dived it down the inside of Immortal, and that was crucial because he needs to defend from Total P's at this moment in time. He was going for it before we even get anywhere near turn 12, using his ERS, using his power of the DRS, and that is Total P's into 6th position, but the leader of those that are pitted at the moment. And just look at the extra grip he has got on those soft tyres relative to some of those around him. Ole and Andenge battling tooth and nail for 10th and 11th, with Blaze and Ferg behind them. The McLaren has managed to get ahead, as here comes Andenge sending one down the inside there at turn 15. I think he nearly hit Energetic 6 in all of that and earned himself a time penalty as well. So not as clean a move as the Williams driver would have wanted. And all of a sudden, Ole's trying to go round the outside here at turn 19. That's not going to work, and he needs to be careful because the McLaren's going to pop his nose in. All of a sudden, down the inside goes the McLaren. And he is now up into 11th place. Although not for long. Well, he is in 11th because of the pit stops. Although very nearly then lost that completely. And they're both running on low on ERS here as he goes down the inside on Ole. Goes into 10th position. Back into the points for the McLaren driver. I'm sure he's feeling pretty aggrieved over all that pit stop period at the moment. Farhad picks up a penalty, but out in the lead it is a 1-2-3 for the top guys in the championship. The Orange and Aylan in the right order. The difference is Jonathan Cox should be ahead of them. If you want the proper championship 1-2-3, he's in 3rd place at the moment, but it has been a great recovery from the Alpha Tauri driver. And again, we don't know when this rain is coming. We know it is forecast at some point. This is what's going to make it very interesting indeed. Blaze has managed to get himself ahead of Energetic 6 there, just coming out of turn 11. We are seeing that move quite often because if you pull it off, you do have the DRS down the next straight. Of course, and Berg and Ole battling in the background. The Renault down the inside of Ole. Gives his teammate a bit of a tap that I don't think he was planning to there. And Energetic 6 thinking, I don't really want to be a part of a battle with my teammate. I don't mind battling the Ferrari behind though, but Ole's just got the grip at the moment, and that should be a fairly straightforward move for him. Energetic 6 will get a better exit initially. Just once a lack of traction kicks in off those medium tyres, he's not able to do anything about it. Those clouds are starting to look more threatening all of a sudden. We are seeing quite a few more clouds managing to pop their way up around this track. Total P's with the fastest lap of the race, and I think we're going to see another overtake here. Blaze has got a fantastic exit out of the final corner. That lack of ERS though just starts costing him. He's going to have to send one down the inside, and Denge tries to think about the cutback, gets it all crossed up all of a sudden, and that's going to allow Berg to just sneak his way down the inside. Berg, a very opportunistic move from him, takes advantage. And perhaps still a bit of inexperience without the traction control for Van Denge. Just lit up the rears coming out of turn 1. He ends up losing a few places in that, as does Farhad, who I think had to lift off quite severely to avoid getting collected. And he's now starting to hold up Ole and Energetic 6 as well. The upshot of that is Blaze is back ahead of Andenge and Ferg, and he's showing that pace that we knew he had at the start of this race. And that is Total P's working his way past Cruxy at the moment. He's into 4. He's nearly caught up to the back of Jonathan Cox. So this soft strategy, and Harvey gets his way past Cruxy as well, could work out very well indeed, because they've got so much more pace than those on the mediums at this moment. Paulie Orange he's got to hope for rain now. If it doesn't rain now, this strategy could fall apart very quickly. He is coming into the pits. This might be a big say in the championship. He's gone a lot longer than everyone else who's pitted quite a lot earlier on, and Paulie Orange leaving it very late indeed. This will definitely be another set of soft tyres, judging by how overcast we look at the moment. That is Aylan in the lead of this race. Jonathan Cox now into 2nd place, and we'll see where Orange comes out. He was all over the back of Harvey earlier on. He's going to drop behind Blaze. He's going to drop behind Ferg, because I think they're the slightly decent car of Lost Souls has come into the pits as well, I believe. And that is Paulie Orange out in 9th place behind Andenge. It's fair to say, going quite long on those soft tyres at the moment doesn't look like it's worked for him. He's now got to hope again that the rain lasts just long enough that those on the mediums and those on the other set of soft tyres that pitted before him can't really make the pace last at the end of this race. This is going to be very interesting indeed, but just look at the pace he's got at this moment in time. This should be a very straightforward move on Andenge. I think even if the Williams driver tried to defend, there's not a lot he'd be able to do. And that is Paulie Orange up into 8th place. He's got the DRS as well. It's going to be a straight drag race, but that is going to be very straightforward indeed, as Harvey Lee's down the inside of Total P's. He's now battling for what is 3rd and 4th position at the moment. Orange also working his way past Ferg. And that is Harvey back into the lead of this race. Does have penalties, of course. They're both on 6 seconds at the moment, so maybe not all is lost for Orange, who's kept it clean, or the two drivers that lead of this race on the mediums. We've got Aylan in 1st, Jonathan Cox in 2nd. We've got to say a very respectable performance at the moment from Cruxy, slightly on his own at this moment in time, but in 5th place on the mediums. And if it starts raining in the next couple of laps, would be a very good job from the Racing Point driver. He is currently 10th in the championship, so again, one of those with a mathematical chance of winning the championship, if definitely not a realistic chance. Who we're looking to score the top 10 in the championship, and he's doing very well indeed. Could even maybe secure another podium. He has had 2 earlier on this season. Fatality, trying to use those mediums, of course, going for something different along with Andenge, and it doesn't look like it's worked out too much at the moment. Fatality, though, does get ahead of Energetic 6 up into 11th as Paulie Orange picks up his first time penalty of the race. 3 seconds he's got at the moment. Will get the gap up to the leaders. He's 8.5 seconds behind his teammate all of a sudden after going for that soft strategy. He's going to be reeling in at about 1.5, 2 seconds a lap, you'd imagine, at the moment. Here comes the McLaren of Blaze on Crooksy. Crooksy goes defensive ever so slightly, but Blaze with the momentum is just going to sweep past and gets the position done. Jonathan Cox and Harvey Lee's then battling hard. This could be something to watch. Down the inside goes Harvey. There's all sorts of contact. Big Total Peace trying to go all the way around the outside of his teammate there, and Jonathan Cox has had a huge slide in all of this. There's no real team orders here between Jonathan Cox and Total Peace. They are still both in with a chance of winning the championship, but you'd imagine Jonathan Cox is thinking, I'm the championship leader, just give me some space, man. I'm the one most likely to win the championship between the two of us. But Pease is fighting hard for that position, and you can see, well, he's by far the faster car at this moment in time. He's tucking right underneath his teammate. I think Jonathan Cox, I don't know if he's going very defensive to the inside there, or he was thinking about lifting off to help his teammate through. It looks like he's gone very defensive. Total Pizza with the cutback. This could get very tasty on the exit, and in the end there's nothing our championship leader can do. So that is Total Pizza up into 3rd. The big winner of all that, though, was Harvey Lees, because he's now stretched out a 1.3 second gap to the other Alpha Tauri's. And this could be very good for him indeed, because if Pease and Jonathan Cox, well, if Pease doesn't have DRS, he might find it a bit hard to catch up initially. Alan now looks as though he's a bit of a sitting duck for the next lap or so. In 14th place on those medium tyres. Makes sense when you start outside the top 10. He's got to be hoping for the rain to come very shortly. We're nearly at the halfway point in this race, and it is Alan, Harvey Lees and Total Pease, your top 3 at this moment in time. See if there's any battles that are looking at our attention further down the field. We'll check the penalties at the moment, as we are seeing quite a few of them. All of a sudden, Blaze has 8 seconds. The 2 Ferraris are swapping around. Fatality and Ole for 10 and 11. We know Lost Souls is somewhere in this field, but answers on a postcard to where exactly he is. He's showing us 3 laps down at the moment, and I think if anything, he's actually battling just ahead of his teammate. So in around 8th or 9th place at the moment, as I'm not sure then. Yes, that is rain. We have got some rain then. It has finally started to rain at the Circuit of the Americas, pretty much as we've got bang on to the halfway point of this race. Harvey Lees then, these on the soft tyres are going to enjoy the rain a lot more at the moment. They might be able to stay out even a lap longer than those that are on the old medium tyres, which will be really worn out all of a sudden. But you can't pass at this point of the circuit, and you can see there's nothing the Alfa Romeo can do but just sit behind Alan. That's going to allow Total Peace to really close up. Energetic 6 and Noble battling for 12 and 13, but it looks like the Renault has just about, well, they're still battling at it tooth and nail. You've also got Immortal and Mars as well fighting hard. That's another time penalty for Total Peace, up at 9 seconds at the moment. And you'd imagine we're only going to see more time penalties once the rain comes, because they will of course have had some compromised strategies. Blaze and Paulie Orange battling here. Orange is going to have the DRS. He's not got a lot of DRS, and as one half gains a position, another loses a position. Alan has been passed by Harvey Lees, so that is the Alfa Romeo back into the lead of this race. It could well be a debut victory at the moment, but all depends on whether those 6 seconds of penalties that he currently has will cost him. Alan has kept it clean. Jonathan Cox, Crooksy and Treminator, they're the 4 drivers that have kept it clean at the moment. As we have a look at the penalty list, we'll see what tyres everyone is on. Those on the mediums, I don't think it'll be too long before they're coming into the pits. This lap or next, I think we might be seeing some of them come into the pits. And there we go. In fact, we're seeing a few of them. That's a very late move from Total Peace. He's just going to have to carry on now. Disaster for the Alpha Tauri driver. What was he thinking by leaving it that late to come into the pits? Well, oh, well, oh, well, that has got an absolute nightmare for him. Paulie Orange, of course, not wanting to get stuck in a double stack. He has carried on. Gods and Mars have already gone on to the intermediate tyres, so they're going to be the drivers to watch. This might make things very interesting indeed. We're seeing loads of drivers coming to the pitch. Crooksy, of course, on the intermediates. He's kept it clean as well. He gets himself ahead of Blaze, so he's a big winner in all that pit stop period. Oh, it just depends. How well can Peas and Orange do on these very damp conditions at the moment? I haven't seen a message saying DRS has been disabled yet, but it doesn't look like we're too far away from that. You'd expect, as Lost Souls has lost the session, and there we go, DRS has been disabled now, so now it is definitely intermediate conditions. But out of those on the slick tyres, you'd expect Farhad DVN and Paulie Orange just to be able to cope a bit better than some of those drivers around them, because they're on a lot fresher soft tyres. They might be able to retain the temperature a tiny bit better. Whether they'll be able to retain it enough or not, we'll have to wait and see how this goes, because you can hear there he is locking up ever so slightly. Ferg gets his way ahead of Blaze, who's at a spin, and that is big front wing damage for Blaze. In 10th position at the moment is another pit stop though needed for the McLaren driver, and it was such a good start from him. He was in 3rd place, he's picked up a few penalties, and any chance he's got of getting good points in this race are pretty much out of the window. That is going to be another pit stop, and it is going to drop him down, by the looks of things, possibly all the way down to 16th, 17th position at this moment in time. Gods has picked up a penalty, and Denge as well. He's another driver to have stuck it out on track, and look how much he is struggling on those medium tyres at this moment in time. Peas and Orange into the pits. We'll be seeing everyone who hasn't already pitted coming in on this lap as well, and we'll have to see where they come out relative to some of these other drivers. The intermediate tyres will now last until the end of the race, assuming the rain lasts until the end of the race, which does look very likely. So Harvey Lees is now into the lead of this race. Alan is in 2nd place, and to be honest, Paulie Orange hasn't lost loads. Out of all that extra lap longer probably hasn't cost him a lot whatsoever. He comes out in 4th place in a bit of free air. We'll see now whether he can catch up to Jonathan Cox and his teammate. Total Peas, of course, that decision to not come into the pits. He was battling with Alan. He's now down in 6th place behind Crooksy, and with 9 seconds of time penalties to be added on, this is going to get very tricky indeed. If he runs a bit wide like he has done there through 8 and 9, could find it very tricky indeed. Blaze retires from the session then. He is out of the race. Lost Souls has disconnected, so we're down to effectively 18 runners then, still with 11.5 laps to go, and we're watching Total Peas try to fight his way up the order at the moment. No DRS now, of course, so there's not really as much advantage going into turn 11 and making the overtake, because whereas before you might have still had the DRS, now you're just going to give the driver ahead a fantastic slipstream. Crooksy trying his best just to scare Total Peas at the moment off ever so slightly. You're going to have to do more than that though to put Total Peas off. Down the inside goes the Alpha Tauri driver, and he's up into 5th place. And a reminder, they are battling hard to try and stay in the Constructors' Championship at the moment. As it stands, Haas would win the championship at this moment in time. And as it stands actually with the race results, considering the penalties, I think we'd have Alan taking the win, Jonathan Cox in 2nd, and I think it would still be Harvey Lees. We'll just have a quick check. Yes, Harvey Lees would still get onto the podium on his debut, and Paulie Orange has done a massive moment there, coming out of turn 19, where I think it was Daniel Kvyat, I believe, lost it in 2015 in the Rosberg Hat-Pro race, where Lewis Hamilton secured the championship. Paulie Orange having a big moment there. Needs to try and get a lot closer to the back of Jonathan Cox. If he can do that and keep it clean, and we see some other penalties, he might still get his way onto the podium, because at the moment, as things stand, it'd swap around again between Alan and Paulie Orange. These two have been battling for 2nd and 3rd in the championship for so long. The team relationship seems to be working well between them at the moment. You just wonder if there could be a bit of a tipping point in the final 3 races. Will things end up getting a bit too close for comfort between them at the moment? Out in the lead though, with a penalty though, needs to get 6 seconds ahead of those behind him. It is Harvey Lees in the lead of this race at the moment. 2.1 seconds ahead of Alan, who is 1.4 ahead of Jonathan Cox. A fantastic drive from him. Saying he had that qualifying bad, of course. Started way down the order in what I believe was 17th position, 18th position even. Gained 15 places so far. A fantastic first couple of laps, really, to get himself into the points. And that has really helped him indeed. Thugbird. Now, this is interesting indeed. Thugbird's gone on the wet tyres. I'm 99% certain it is not wet enough at this moment in time. Those wet tyres are just going to cook, and he comes into the pits again. It's worth trying something different when you're a long way down the field. Not sure that was the best thing to do. And he gets a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And I think that was a bit inevitable in the end. He retires from the race. We are down to just 17 runners then. Harvey Lee still leading. 10 laps to go. Battles further down the order then. Ole trying to hold on from Energetic 6 at the moment. These are the closest two drivers on the field. Penalty situation means there's not a lot Energetic 6 can do. Ole can afford to let him go and let him go a long way. And at the moment, the Ferrari driver would be picking up a point because Noble also has a large amount of penalties. If we get a big crash, these penalties are going to be a lot more important. You might see a virtual safety car. You could even see a full safety car. And that would really spice things up. We do have a yellow flag in Sector 1. I think that is just for the retired car of Thugbird, as a few of the other cars are making their way around these S's at the moment. Treacherous enough in dry conditions, as Noble tries to straight line them a bit too much there and picks up a penalty, even more so in the wet. They are very tricky indeed at this moment in time. It doesn't look as though the veins getting any harder, and that is a big slide from Noble. Just about keeps it out of the wall. That's going to allow, I think, Ole and Energetic 6 to get ahead of him. He needs to be very careful. Doesn't kill himself with wheel spin on that curb. Well held in the end. You've got to say, just really looked as though he was struggling for pace in that S's, and he does now drop into 12th position. That promotes Ole up into 10th. Treminator. I haven't spoken about him much at the moment, and he's having a bit of a lonely race. He's just picked up a penalty there. He's the sole remaining Red Bull, so don't expect to be seeing them to catch up to Williams at the moment. It looks like it is going to be nil pois for the Milton Keynes team. He's having a very lonely race in 13th. But again, anything can happen. A lot of drivers with a lot of penalties ahead of him. If there's a safety car, he could really be one of the drivers to benefit from all of that. And here's our championship leader in 3rd place. Looks like he's dropped a bit back from Alan with 9 laps to go. And it looks as though Paulie Orange is trying to reel him in at this moment in time. Now, he won't be too worried about Paulie Orange reeling him in. He won't want to drop too far behind Alan, and especially Harvey Lees. He is currently, as we get the leader time up, 4.2 seconds behind. If he ends up dropping 6 seconds behind, then Harvey will end up securing that 2nd place as things stand. So Jonathan just needs to try carefully, just needs to really keep an eye on that gap to the Alfa Romeo up ahead. And it doesn't look like he's getting away from him at the moment. If anything, it looks like Alan's putting a bit of a shift on just to try and ensure that if he gets a penalty, Jonathan Cox won't jump ahead of him as fatality. Another driver to pick up 3 seconds. You've got to say, there's been a lot of penalties at the moment. You see it all the time, really, around this Austin circuit. So fair play to Alan, Jonathan Cox and Crooksy. They'll all be driving on compromised setups as we had a wet end to the race and a dry start, of course, and a dry qualifying. And it's just so easy in that first sector to run slightly wide, and coming out of turn 19 as well is another one where I quite frequently get a telling off from the in-game stewards about the track limits. A very good job indeed from all those drivers that have kept it clean, and a very good job really from everyone that is keeping it on track at the moment. And a man that seems to have found a bit of pace all of a sudden is CRL Ferg in 7th place in the Renault at this moment in time. He's only scored 1 point so far this season in the championship. It looks as though he's definitely going to bump up quite a few more than that at this moment in time. He has got a few penalties, so he needs to get 6 seconds ahead of Crooksy, but he has really caught up all of a sudden. This could get a bit spicy in the next few laps. Not sure. The best overtaking place, I think, is still probably going to be turn 12 at the moment. With that long run on the straight into turn 1, might just be a bit too short for you all of a sudden, but we might see very shortly. And you can see without the DRS, he's just not got enough oomph in the slipstream in the back of that Renault to get the move done. Noble works his way ahead of Energetic 6, who is in the barriers with a broken front wing on the way into turn 19. Now that is a very strange pace to see a car headed off into the wall, and he's off again, and he's out of the race. And that could very well lead to a safety car or a virtual safety car, which will spice everything up. He's a long way off the track at this moment in time. That's all I can say It looks like the in-game stewards have taken that into account. So we've had our first on-track retirement from Energetic 6 there as he tried to recover back onto the circuit. It just didn't go well for him. And I think music to the ears of Harvey Lee's, Orange, Peas, everyone with a penalty. There will not be a safety car from that crash. So we're down to just 16 drivers. It's still Harvey in the lead by 1.5 seconds ahead from Alan, who is starting to close that gap down. Jonathan Cox is finding himself dropping back not only by a 10th to a lap from one of the Hassers, but just dropping into range of Paulie Orange. And if Orange starts battling with Jonathan Cox, that could be enough for Harvey to obviously get himself onto the podium at this moment in time. Now, it does look as though Crooksy is struggling with pace ever so slightly because Andenge has joined this battle all of a sudden. We've now got a three-way battle for 6th position. You can just see Ferg there, the rear of the car, looking as though it's wanted to slide out as he passes where his teammate retired just a lap ago. They're really struggling through these high downforce sections to put the power down as they would in the dry. At this point in the race, in the dry, that is not a corner you're thinking about, especially on fresh tyres. You are just going around it flat out at this moment in time. Treminator working his way ahead of Noble. So Trem now up into 11th. He's starting to boost his way up the order. I'm not sure if Noble, I wonder if he picked up any damage in that incident with Jet 6. They were close to each other on track. We didn't see if they made contact, but it doesn't look as though there is any major damage on that McLaren at this moment in time. Orange picks up another time penalty, and so does Jonathan Cox. So that is big news for Cox in the championship. He has now got a time penalty. It's a shame for Orange that he's managed to pick up one on the same lap as well, because he'd have obviously been hoping if it had just been Cox picking up a penalty, then this would have been an on-track battle. As it is, he's now got to rely on Jonathan picking up another 3-second time penalty, or hoping he can do something about it and maybe boost himself 3 seconds up the road. And Denge having a straight drag race here in the wet on this very bumpy drag strip with a lack of ERS. There's not a lot Andenge can do. So B takes 7th position out on track. That just gives Crooksy a bit of breathing space. All of a sudden, we're just about to start lap 23 of this race, as that's a big bit of wheel spin from Ferg, and that's going to allow Andenge straight down the inside at turn 13. Has to take to the curb. There's not a lot of grip on them in the dry, never mind in the wet. And he drops back down into 8th place. Here's our race leader, Harvey Lee's taking the final corner. 6 more laps to go. He looks on course to take his first victory out on track. But it looks like Alan will take his second win of the season once penalties have been applied. And here we are on board with Alan, then 1.7 seconds behind Harvey. Just needs to stay within 6 seconds really, so doesn't need to push, just needs to drive on his own pace. And there's been a few times this season where we've seen Alan drop back all of a sudden. This has not been one of them. This has been a supreme performance from him in the wet conditions, a bit like the last race before the Christmas break at the Russian Grand Prix. That was another race where we saw rain towards the end of the race, and he ended up taking the victory because of penalties at that race as well, making a one-stop strategy work. Here we are on a one-stop strategy, watching him possibly take the win on penalties, as Noble has now had a big off at turn 19 as well. He's in the barrier. We're down to 15 runners, and again, no safety car. It is probably, though, a bit late now in the day for us to be seeing a full safety car come out on circuit. So that is, again, it's good news for everyone that's got a penalty at the moment, that we won't be seeing any safety cars, because if there was, we might even see someone like Crooksy get a podium. He's still holding off Ferg and Andenge. Andenge had a go at the Renault last time around. That allowed a bit of space to build up, and that space has stayed built up for at least one lap. And Crooksy, he's doing a good job at the moment. Solid, but not spectacular. And he is still standing to gain a position on total Ps. As long as he can stay within 12 seconds, it looks as though he could get a top 5 finish, which would be very handy indeed for the Racing Point driver. Noble leaving the session after his accident. I can't say I blame him for not wanting to hang around, as total Ps is into the pits. Is this for a set of wet tyres? Does he think it is wet enough for a set of the full wet tyres? That is the only reason why he'd come into the pits, and I'm not sure you'd lose enough time. This is interesting indeed, and it is. Well. Watch out for the pace of total Ps all of a sudden. He has gone for the full wet tyres with just 5 laps remaining in this race, whereas the others, they're just thinking they can hold it off. And Denge and Ferg battling again into turn 11. turn 1, sorry, the rain has definitely intensified, you can say that, but I'm not sure it's wet enough still for the wet tyres, and even if it is, I'm not sure you're going to gain a lot when you take into account the pit stop. And Denzer nearly going into the back of Ferg. I think he might have tapped him ever so slightly. Are we going to see some more pit stops? As Andenge gives Ferg a bit of a tap there through the S's. I'm not sure the Renault driver will be too happy about that. Total P's earns himself a time penalty. Again, watch out for his times. At the moment, it doesn't look like he's catching up to fatality. It looks like he's actually losing quite a bit of time. He's going to be losing more than a bit of time. That is a huge accident from the AlphaTauri driver. Big shunt from Total P's, overheated them tyres, and it is a virtual safety car on lap 24. Now, some of our leaders are near the pits. I think that's a pretty certain answer as to, is it wet enough for the full wet tyres? It isn't, and that shunt from Total P's pretty much means, unless we see something spectacular happen at the front of the field with one of the Haasers, that Haas have secured the Constructors' Championship here tonight. So a great performance from them throughout the season. It looks like they're going to secure a race victory as well. Aylan still 2 seconds behind. None of these drivers coming into the pits as we go back to green flag running then. All of a sudden, 4 laps remaining. 14 runners left in that race. And that was a spectacular accident from Total P's. At the start of the season, he looked like a shoo-in to be a championship contender, you've got to say. Now all of a sudden you imagine he's going to have to start taking the supportive role behind Jonathan Cox. Paulie Orange, of course, not being Jonathan Cox's teammate, does not want to spend any time behind him whatsoever. He is battling tooth and nail at the moment to try and work his way through, but you can't see a thing. It's like they're driving for a car wash at the moment rather than driving on a Formula 1 track. Once you get stuck in the spray or the water, of course, being displaced by those intermediate tyres, it's about 50 litres a second by the full wet. It's quite a bit less for these intermediates. They don't cope with standing water whatsoever. But you can see Jonathan Cox, I think, just got caught out by the VSC ending at a really awkward position for him, and looks like he's struggling a bit on traction. Needs to be careful that he doesn't get a penalty, because if he does, and Orange gets ahead of him, and probably not even a podium all of a sudden for our championship leader. Orange knows, though, he's got to get past and somehow get 3 seconds ahead. I'm not quite sure that is going to happen. Cruxy, again, on his own in 5th place. A big winner in what we saw between Andenge and Ferg. Look at the gap he's got behind him at the moment. A big winner on all the strategy, of course, with everything that happened earlier on. He's putting in a very solid performance, and it's unlikely, though, if we see the 2 cars ahead of him battling, who knows, might still manage to get a bit more out of this race in all what is going on at the moment. Although they're not battling for the points at the moment, there is a lot of stuff happening down between the 2 Mercedes and the 2 CRX boys. You've got Immortal in 11th, Farhad 12th, Gods 13th, Mars 14th and last position at this moment in time. And Immortal getting an absolutely shocking exit out of turn 11. His teammate wants a shot in the slipstream here, up towards turn 12. I don't think he's quite going to be close enough all of a sudden to go for the move. Is he down the inside? No, he is not. Gods and Mars pretty spread out as well, although Gods has absolutely sent one over the curb there. I'm not sure if he meant to do that or if he just locked the tyres up and thought that was the best course of action. These 2 Mercedes are still battling. Let's not make any contact at this late part of the race. I don't imagine we'd get a virtual safety car yet. You never know. If there's a retirement ahead of them, there could be points on for one of these drivers, so they need to keep it fairly clean, as the rain is absolutely bucketing it down at the moment. But still, there is a dry line on the circuit. Still, there's not any standing water. You've got to say, it's intermediates all the way to the end, and you wouldn't gain enough if you changed tyres anyway. There's still a bit of bump in between these 2. All of a sudden, they're coming on to lap 26 of the race, with the race leaders pretty much in sector 3 now of lap 26. Immortal goes defensive. Farhad thinks about a move all the way outside on the brakes. This is brave enough in the dry conditions, never mind in the wet. Can you get the cutback? Can he get the traction down? We're going to try side by side once again. I think on that bit of a wetter line, Farhad just has to give up. So he is now staying in 12th place, and God's nearly taking advantage of all that. This is a cracking battle right down at the back of the field. Mars lucky to avoid any damage to his front wing and all of that, I've got to say. He's in 14th place. Just shows you there's no points on at the moment, just pride, but they are fighting tooth and nail. Talking about the points, the fastest lap point will still be going to Harvey Lees at this moment in time, who is Etheridge just coming around turn 1 for the penultimate time in the lead of this race. Does look a dead certainty now, though, that he will lose that on penalties. Also looks like a certainty, though, that it will be Aylin taking the victory. Harvey Lee's in second. Jonathan Cox in third position. So I think he will actually end up extending his championship lead ever so slightly. He's got a 10-point lead at the moment over Paulie Orange. That will go up to 13 points, and Aylin will all of a sudden become 13 points behind. So the top three before this race was split by 16. They'll be split by 13. What Jonathan Cox, who, if anything, it looks as though his lead's been closing up for quite a while now. He hasn't won since the Canadian Grand Prix. He would still be in the lead of the championship, as Immortal has been passed by Gods and Mars. So I wonder if he's made a slight mistake somewhere coming through that final few corners of the lap, trying to see if he's got any front wing damage at the moment. But the weather absolutely atrocious around here. It's definitely full wet conditions now, but you're not going to gain anything by going to the full wet. You've just got to try and hang it out on circuit for as long as possible. And Denge has caught back up to Cruxy. This battle 4th, 5th and 6th on track at the moment. And Denge with 9 seconds of penalties isn't going to pull away 9 seconds whatsoever, because Cruxy doesn't need to defend here. I imagine, though, there's just a tiny bit of pride coming into that, making sure that he wants to defend, he wants to hold on for that position, thinks about the move down the inside here, thinks about the cutback, can't quite get it done in the dry. That's a doable move in the wet, when at the moment you've got to say there's one racing line around this track. That is never going to work. And these guys are just about to start the final lap of the race. Stay off the curbs, boys, for this final lap. Otherwise, you could find yourself in the wall. A bit like Total Peace did earlier. And you could well find yourself out of this race. And then closing in slightly on the straight. He's got his ERS on. Is he going to send one into turn 1? No, just too far behind at the moment, and nearly outbreaks himself. Jonathan Cox still holding off Paulie Orange at the moment for 3rd and 4th. As long as Jonathan doesn't pick up a penalty on this lap, he's certain to get 3rd position. Anyway, as long as he doesn't spin as well. Orange taking some slightly better lines at this moment in time, and you've got to say he's got a run here all of a sudden on Jonathan Cox. This is for pride more than anything down the inside. He's going to go. Coxie does not need to fight this too hard at this moment in time. Orange very fair, giving him plenty of space. He's still on the inside with a run down the hill. This could get very tasty between these two at this moment in time. Jonathan Cox has got had the pace advantage all of a sudden. Then it looks like he's run out of ERS. Down the inside goes Paulie Orange. And that is very late on the brakes from Jonathan Cox, so he holds on to that 3rd position. Coming around the final few corners, though, he's pretty much been in the lead the entire way of this race. Unfortunately for him, though, a couple of 3-second time penalties mean he's going to lose out on that position, as Cruxy and Denge are battling in the background. It's still been a stellar performance from pole position for Harvey Lees as he rounds the final corner to take the checkered flag here in the United States Grand Prix, but it is not going to be enough to take the victory. That will go to Aylin, a 2nd win of the season for the Haas driver, and that secures the Constructors' Championship for the American team. Jonathan Cox comes home in 3rd place. Paulie Orange tried everything to get it on track in the end, and especially with the penalty, it was a futile effort. A fantastic performance then from Cruxy, one of his best results for a while. He comes home in 5th, and Denge losing out with that final lap penalty to Ferg in 6th. The two Ferraris are in 8th and 9th. Fatality from Ole dropping back a bit from that high position at the start, as Woe Mars has had a big accident there. Has he gone straight into the back of Gods? Has he gone straight into the back of Gods in all of that? Because I can't quite see how else Mars has lost a wheel. On the final lap of the race, Mars has lost a tyre here. Terminator still on his own at the moment. He's going to come home to take that final points position in the Red Bull. So a very quiet afternoon work for him, but gets himself a nice point for his troubles. Farhad will be 11th, Gods in 12th, Immortal in 13th place. But your race winner here, his 2nd win of the season, and now tied 2nd in the championship with his teammate. I think Paulie Orange might just take it though on countback. It is Aylin. He takes the victory here. A great debut from Farhad. No, actually, I do apologise. Aylin's actually going to be 2nd in the championship on his own at this moment in time. He is now I'm going to have to do some very quick maths here. Alan closes the gap at the top of the championship up to 6 points all of a sudden. Paulie Orange is now 13 points behind Jonathan Cox. It is really closing up going into the final 3 races of the season. There's Alan on the podium, a first podium as well for Harvey. A great job from him, and Jonathan Cox coming home in 3rd position. So, the results then from this race, pending any stewards' inquiries, a fantastic victory from Alan. He takes for 25 points. He's now within single figures of our championship leader, Jonathan Cox. Harvey Lees took to checkered flag first. He got pole position. He had the fastest lap. Those 6-second penalties meaning he ends up finishing in 2nd. Coxey in 3rd. Paulie Orange 4th. Crooksey, another driver to keep it clean, in 5th. Ferg and Denge. Ole Fatality. Treminator rounded out the top 10. Farhad just missing out on the points. Gods, not sure if he was involved in an incident on the final lap with Mars, and Immortal, the final finisher. We saw Mars have a missing wheel. We saw Total Peas have a huge crash coming out of turn 10. The wet tyre gamble definitely didn't pay off for him. Lost Souls, not quite sure where he finished. He was suffering from a lot of desync. Noble, Energetic 6, Thug and Blaze all retiring from the race. What a fantastic race as well in all those wet conditions. And I think if we should, we'll try and see if we can get any of our drivers in. We'll try and see if we can get any of the top 3 in. As I said, a very interesting race indeed. Plenty of action all throughout the field. We'll see if we can get any of those top 3 coming in for an interview. Alan did what he had to. He kept it clean. He took the victory. He knew he didn't have to bother overtaking Harvey. He knew that the penalty situation would come good for him in the end. Jonathan Cox as well. He did what he had to. He hung on to that 3rd place. Didn't pick up too many penalties. In the end, that 3-second penalty that he picked up made absolutely no difference whatsoever in the final race results. Without it, he'd have finished 3rd. With it, he finished 3rd. So a great job from him. But it is closing up in the championship all of a sudden. 6 points now between Alan and Jonathan Cox. With still not too far behind, let's not forget, Paulie Orange still has a chance. And there's still a few others with a mathematical chance. But I think now, because of all what happened in that race, I don't imagine something dramatic's going to have to happen if we see anyone else outside those top 3 drivers take this championship. We're going to have a very dramatic end to the season and a very dramatic final race if one of those doesn't end up taking the championship. But we have invited our top 3 drivers in for an interview, so hopefully we'll be able to get hold of them soon and get their thoughts on what I'm sure was a very challenging race for them as well, in extremely tricky conditions. We didn't quite know when the rain was going to come. It came at about the halfway point, and in the end, it didn't seem like it really mattered on what strategy you want. Harvey getting ahead of everyone after going for softs. We saw Alan and Jonathan Cox go for the mediums, I should say, and it seemed to work for them very well. But we have got a few of our podium drivers coming in now, so we will have a chat with them, starting with our race winner, 2nd time this season, and you've closed up the gap ever so slightly in the championship, and has to have won the Constructors' Championship. So a very good evening's work from yourself, Alan.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, smiling, so that's good. Constructors confirmed now, is it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I think you're about 200 and something points ahead, and there's 192 remaining.
That's
It's not all bad, is it?
Yeah, exactly. We can stop turning up now. Yeah. Didn't really know what to expect starting 11th, to be honest. But the mediums managed to hold on. I think the fronts were in the 60s, I think, by the time the rain started coming, so we came at the perfect time. Coxey would have saw it as well. Penultimate corner, all of a sudden it's like, oh, we got another strategy for you. So, perfect timing. Worked out really well.
Yeah, perfect timing for yourself. And then, all of a sudden, it was just about keeping it clean, because you knew all the drivers around you had penalties. You knew you didn't. Was that just what focused you towards the end of that race, knowing that you didn't need to push too much, but if you made a slight mistake and got yourself a penalty, everything could change all of a sudden?
Yeah, that's exactly that. The S's on this track are nasty for penalties. They're unforgiving. So obviously in the wet, it's obviously doubled, but it's even worse. But chasing Harvey Lee, managed to get into a second and a half or something in the end, and not necessarily coast, but I know I didn't have to try anything if I got any closer. The VSC could have turned to a safety car that would have put people ahead of Coxey through penalties, but you know, I guess I've already had my luck for the day.
To be honest, I'm surprised we didn't get a full safety car after a few incidents in that race. There's only 6 points now behind Jonathan in the championship. It's getting very close all of a sudden, and you don't really have to work with your teammate anymore because you've secured the constructors. It's going to be pretty tasty in the final 3 races.
Yeah, that's true. I can now just hope that they take each other off the track and that'll be it. Nice and easy. If not, I'll just take off Orange myself. No, it should be interesting. I know mathematically there's quite a few people who were still in contention, but I think Denj and Pease are still realistically within a chance, aren't they? I believe.
I think it's probably going to be a bit hard now for them. I think Pease is about 100 points behind, so he might mathematically... Okay. I think he's still in with a chance mathematically, but he will need to win every race and need yourself, Jonathan and Orange to have a nightmare. Drofdas is still mathematically in it, as is KRC, and I think Andenj is as well, where he's about 60 points behind, so it's almost certainly going to be one of your top 3 unless we have some really dramatic races at the end of the season.
Luckily there's no Baku 3 times, 4 times. Otherwise it would have changed. No, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens, but horribly I feel like it's going to be that double points that's going to decide it.
In fact, I'm just trying to work out all of a sudden. I think unless Jonathan Cox wins the next 2 races, it will go down to that double points race. So it looks almost certain to do that, and I'm sure that's going to make it very, very interesting indeed. But congratulations on your victory, Aylin. Closes that gap into championship, and it is getting a bit nervous behind Jonathan Cox at the moment, but a fantastic first couple of laps from yourself after that qualifying ban to recover, and you made the medium strategy work and you've been rewarded with a podium. Tell us about the start of that race.
I got off to well, considering I'm no TC, I'm not particularly good at race starts at the moment, but I'm practicing with them. But for some reason I seem to have got off to a great start tonight, and I managed to get myself up to P12, something like that, by the first corner of the first lap, and I just took it from there. Really, I didn't do any I say like stupid moves, and but yeah, I'm taking 3rd place as a victory, really, because well, like you said on the stream, I haven't won since Canada, and I've had a couple of off races, but I'm taking 3rd as a victory, and hopefully now I can kick on, and I'm heading into Mexico with a bit of optimism, really.
And is Mexico a track you enjoy quite a lot? Because it has got a few similarities with USA. You've obviously got the high-speed parts, and you've got that S section as well, which at Mexico, it's just as easy, if not easier than here, to pick up penalties.
I don't know what it is like with track designers with the S sections, pretty much almost every track. But Mexico's alright. It's just about getting a bit of momentum, bit of just get your eye into the track, and you should be fine. And you can get penalties around Mexico, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the challenge of Aylin and Paulie Orange and the rest of the guys as well. But I'm still leading the championship by 6 points. It's hard leading the championship because you can feel like the pressure of the other drivers, like just feel like the pressure of the drivers coming trying to beat you. But it's a good challenge. I'm enjoying the challenge. It's been a great season from all of us. So let's just make the last 3 races a season to remember, really.
Yeah, there's definitely been some close races. Final question to both of you here. We saw a bit of a mix of strategies at the start of the race. We saw a lot of the top 10, we knew obviously had to start on the softs, and they went on to another set of softs. Were you tempted to do a soft strategy at the start of the race just to try and work your way up the field a bit quicker?
No.
Simple enough.
No, purely because... sorry, Alan. Purely because, to me, the soft seems to wear out a lot quicker than the mediums. So I just went for mediums and just kept going until the rain came. And fortunately, the rain came halfway through the race, and it fell into mine and Alan's hands, really.
Was it something you thought of, Alan?
If I was in the top 10, it would have been a certainty, but there was confusion at first whether I qualified 10th or 11th, because I believe Lost Souls had a desync.
Yes, he was. Throughout the race, he was in a few different places, I believe, until he disconnected.
Yeah, because at least on my screen, it said that I was 10th, but then I was told that I was 11th. So, luckily, I was able to change, otherwise, without realising, I would have started on the softs, so I would have probably had to commit to the soft. But, yeah, usually outside the top 10, I always go for the opposite, and obviously just try out last. What it was, what worked anyway, was jumping a couple of the soft runners at the beginning, so I can then follow a couple of the others ahead and keep them behind. So it just sort of messed up their strats at the same time, and obviously it kept Jonathan behind them as well, because obviously even up until they pit, I'm pretty sure those softs are still quicker than the mediums. But yes.
I mean, in the end, it worked out fantastically for both of you, starting outside the top 10 and finishing first and third respectively. So a great job from yourself. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Harvey in after what was a fantastic race from him. His first pole position, he crossed the line first, but penalties did cost him a win in the end. But he'll have another chance next time out, as will our 3 championship protagonists. It's still closing up at the top. 13 points now between the top 3, with just 3 races remaining. Who will come out on top at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez? Same time, same place, 9:40 p.m. next Saturday on the Late Night Racing channel. But for myself, Luke Etheridge, from Alan and Paulie Orange, and all the drivers who joined us tonight and raced with us, have a very good evening, and we'll see you next time around. Goodbye.